Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curtains Up, where today we're diving behind the curtain to celebrate the artists, thinkers, and technicians who bring theater to life. Today, we're shining the spotlight on one of the most essential and often unsung roles in any production, the stage manager. Joining us is Isabella Marziello, an assistant stage manager from Seattle who keeps the chaos of live performance in perfect sync. Whether it's tech week madness, script supervision, or calling hundreds of cues flawlessly each night, they are the calm in the creative storm. Isabella, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Starting off with the few introductory questions. How did you first get involved with theater?
Yeah, my first involvement in this theater was through acting. I started acting as a freshman in high school. I was a basketball player and got seriously injured and wasn't able to compete in that season and had nothing else to do after school, so I decided I would try out for a play, and I've been doing it ever since.
How was your experience when you first joined drama? Would you say it was like after like you said you got injured in basketball? After you joined drama, did you like find out that that was actually what you're passionate in, or did you just
Yeah,
was that another thing you did at the side?
I had been interested in theater ever since I was really little, but I grew up in a very small town. I didn't have access to any live theater. I think I only saw my first show because I went to visit my grandparents in LA. So we had no access to it, but it was always something that I was interested in. And so high school was the first point that I was able to try it. And once I tried it, I was just addicted to it.
That's awesome. Um, what's your favorite part of the job as like assistant stage manager, and what's the most challenging?
Yeah, I think something I love about being an assistant stage manager is anticipating needs and being able to help in the room. I love like filling up people's water bottle if they need it, and just like reading body language and like seeing if an actor is looking for a prop and finding it for them. I also love that as an assistant stage manager, you get to work with all of the different departments for a production, and I think that provides a really unique perspective on like what it takes to make a show happen. Especially, I think coming from an acting background, I just wasn't familiar with like all of the different aspects that everyone works on and puts in. And as a stage manager, you get to hear about it, and also like check up on it. And I think that that's really fun.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Going back to that, how did you said were introduced to theater through acting. How did you switch from acting to teching? Like, was there like a specific split, or did you just realize like to
So
like
yeah,
tech more?
I so I think the first show that I didn't get cast in, I still just like wanted to be a part of it. So I ended up doing costume crew for that, and I really enjoyed that. And then I didn't find stage management until college, which is where I am today. This is where I got my first stage management job. I had auditioned for Into the Woods and did not get in, and I just emailed the director to be like, "Hey, do you need like any backstage crew? Do you need any wardrobe crew?" And she said, "I actually don't have a stage manager." And I had never done it. I had no idea what a stage manager really did because I was just in my own little actor head for 6 years. And I was like, I'll try it, and I just loved it from the moment I did it. And I've only acted once or twice since then, and I've just done stage management since.
Yeah, no, Into the Woods is such a hard show to get into. I auditioned for it, and I'm in it
Oh,
for my
cool.
school. I play the role of steward, so I'm just glad to be in it. It was a very hard show to get into.
Yeah.
Um, um, could you tell us about the most recent production you worked on? Like, what were some of the standout moments behind the scenes?
Yeah, the most recent production I worked on was a production of The Last 5 Years at Act Theater, downtown Seattle. Something that was really unique about that production in particular is we had two casts. And for the most part, they had the same blocking. They used the same props. We had a couple that we would have to switch out every now and again. Some books had pictures, so you have to make sure you have the right actor picture on the book. But otherwise, that show was also in the round, which was the first show I had done fully done in the round. During 2020, I was working on a show in the round, but we never got to perform it. So that
Okay.
was also interesting. Of like, how do you track props and entrances when it's not just stage left and stage right?
It's like different actors. Yeah, was there ever like a situation where you almost accidentally passed out the wrong bios or something?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we
And
had
then yeah, and then actually, this is I guess this coincides with the next point. How does Seattle's unique theater culture influence your work as a stage manager?
yeah, I think something that I think is very unique about Seattle is how connected all of the theaters are. And I think that that really helps introduce you to different stage managers, new crew, and it provides you the opportunity to constantly be working on how to work with others. There's always new things to learn. I also feel like something I really love about working in professional theater is working with many different generations of people who have been doing theaters. Like I'm very new and green, but then there are people who have been doing it for like 40 years, and I have so much to learn from them. And I just think that that's really special.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And then, do you think that that like reflects what it's like working in venues like ACT Theater, Seattle Repertory, and other theaters?
Yeah, most recently when I was at Act Theater, I was working under a stage manager I had never worked under before, and he had been doing theater for probably 35 or more years. And so it was really interesting to hear from him, like how much everything has changed since he started and also how he got his start. And I think at ACT in particular, I really like sitting in the lounge and like listening to everybody talk and tell their stories because there's just so much history.
Yeah, 35 years sounds really experienced.
Yeah.
Um, are there any challenges or advantages to working in this city's regional theaters?
I think initially for me, getting in was a little bit of a challenge, but once I got my foot in the door, I think because of how connected all of the theaters are, it creates a really strong community. There is an SM collective in Seattle, which meets every now and again on Mondays, where it's just a bunch of stage managers who will meet together. We have a discussion topic and we can discuss that or just like learn new things from each other or just connect with each other, which was really nice to find people who know what it's like to be a stage manager and work in different venues and whatnot. And then also, I think something that the connectedness and communication between all the theaters and the stage management collective do that's really special and helpful getting into the industry is they do a interview speed dating. So they'll gather all of the like representatives from different theaters in one rehearsal hall, and then you have 5 minutes to sit down and chat with each theater, and you bring your resume, and you get to hear about all the different regional theaters and fringe theaters, and they even invite theaters like as far as Tacoma. I think it's a really great way to get exposure because I am constantly learning about theaters that I hadn't known of before.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds like I've never had something like that where like there's just a specific group that meets what was it every Sunday?
We meet Mondays, and it's kind
Oh
of
man.
sporadic depending on like what kind of
Okay,
show
yeah.
you're
I've
working
never I've
on.
never
And yeah,
had yeah, that sounds amazing. Just having a group that like goes through the same experience you do and you can talk just like about just whatever. That's really awesome.
yeah, it's super cool.
Um how does weather like rain or snow or venue logistics affect your prep and run of the show, if at all?
Yeah, I haven't worked in any outdoor venues, so I can't speak to that necessarily, but I've worked at Village Theater a couple of times, which is out in Issaquah, and they have two venues. So as you create your show and prep your show, you also have to think about transfer and like how is this show going to transfer? How is it going to fit in the new space? So you get two ground plans, you get two of basically everything to try to figure out how can we make it work in both spaces, which
And
is
they're
the
like
first time
different
I've done that.
stages, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're
So
different
you have to like
sizes.
yeah. So you
Yeah,
have to like work out everything as well in both different man, that must be tough.
yeah. I just did last fall and winter. I did Legally Blonde with them, and the set was huge. It barely fit in our Issaquah stage, and then our Everett stage is like a little bit. It's much wider, but a little shorter.
Yeah.
So we had to change our entire backstage plan. We're playing paper dolls with everything cut out, trying to see like what's the best way that everything can fit.
Did you have to change the set at all?
Um, we had to change like motor spikes, but nothing
Okay.
had to be modified
Okay.
physically.
That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because Legally Blonde set is pretty big if I recall correctly. So
Yes.
like just
Yeah, it was definitely
in
the
general
biggest
any
show I've done.
modifications.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um how would you handle stress or conflicts backstage?
I think stress and conflict backstage is something I'm still learning to handle, but I think something I've been learning is it's important to just communicate with the people around you. So if you feel yourself boiling up to a point, you can like let people know and get the support that you need. Or if you see someone who looks like they may be getting to a point, you can offer help. I think keeping an open dialogue and knowing that like it's okay to be stressed. It's okay to let the people around you know that you are stressed, because that way people can show up for you, or you can show up for yourself or others in a way that is more helpful. I also think something that stage managers are prone to doing is not taking our breaks. And taking your full break is very important, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of the show, you can't take care of your coworkers, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. No, I remember I can't really talk about it to the same extent, but I'm in high school, so I have like high school theater, and yeah, it's just like something our director regularly says is like um if there's something that's happening outside in school, leave it at the door, right? Just like
Yeah.
let let theater come first. So yeah, taking breaks is very important. And then I guess for our final question, if someone's listening wants to become a stage manager, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. I would say reach out to your local theaters and ask if you can shadow. That's something that was really helpful for me. Just I'm a very much a visual learner. So when I was becoming interested in stage management, I reached out to a bunch of theaters in Seattle, and not many responded to me at the time because it was right before COVID hit. But I was able to go and shadow a couple of stage managers at the Center House, and I shadowed at the ballet for Nutcracker. So I got two very different types of stage management, which was really cool for me. Um, but I also would say, like, you just have to ask and keep asking. If people need help, if they want help, if they have any openings. I also think I had an internship and an apprenticeship before I started working professionally that were very helpful. That really gave me the skills and tools to know what it's like to work in the professional world, because it was much, much different than what I was used to in high school and college.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Exposure is one of like the best ways to get into anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that wraps up my questions. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It was really nice to have you on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yep. And thank you to the audience for listening. And that brings us to the end of another episode. If you enjoyed today's episode and the spotlight we have shined on stage managers, please leave a like and a follow to help our account reach others. As always, it was a pleasure to record this episode. Until next time, curtains down.